David can. Thank you, David. All right, I'm going to kick off. I'm assuming you can all see my screen. What are we going to talk about tonight? Well, I've kind of preempted what I'm going to talk about, but I'll tell you a little bit about me if you know nothing about me. I'll talk to you about what you need to do to be successful, talk about SBL and how it is different, and then I'll talk about the key changes that are taking place in September, and do you need to worry about them? How does SBL require a different approach to other strategic professional exams? And yeah, what do you need to do to prevent failure? I didn't check. You can hear me all right as well, I'm assuming, but yeah. Okay. Right. So let's talk about it. Firstly, who am I and why do you need to know? Well, what you probably need to know, I've done this a long time. I've got a lot of experience as a tutor, as a marker, as someone working with the examining team. I've won various awards for my tutoring. And most importantly, I've worked for over 20 years with the education team, acting as their expert tutor. I wrote all of the teacher training material when SBL was launched, and I'm working with the ACCA as we speak, writing some stuff to help teachers teach SBL post September 2023 better. Yep, so the ACCA have put their trust in me, and the reason I say that is because there are all kinds of experts online who seem to know everything about SBL, but at every examination meeting, at every education team meeting, I've never met these people. So draw your own conclusions. Yes, be careful of the experts online. They peddle a lot of fake news, should I say. If you need to get in contact with me, well, that's my website, that's my email. WhatsApp, to be honest, is the best way. LinkedIn is where I post a lot of stuff. There's a WhatsApp number. If you're from overseas, put 2 zeros at the beginning, 44, you'll get a hold of me. I also have, basically as a request from students, started to put quite a lot of stuff on a YouTube channel. So there's all kinds of stuff you can digest. I consolidate stuff from the ACCA. I consolidate my stuff, everything you need to know to pass the SBL exam. ACCA, Sean Purcell, SBL, have a look at that on YouTube. So lots and lots of resources which you can tap into. What else do I want to say? Well, a newsletter is something I also send out, and might be a good idea to sign up for that as well. That tends to give heads up on what's going on, anything relevant to SBL, things to think about, what you need to do, like, I don't know, if you were taking an exam and you needed to appeal, what are the deadlines, all that kind of stuff, just to remind maybe stressed students. So that's the first kind of introductory stuff. What do you need to do to be successful? Well, I think, if I'm honest, having done this for so long, the thing I believe is most important for you to be successful is for you, firstly, to be very motivated. Have you had a conversation with yourself and decided, why do you want to do this? Because exams aren't easy. They require a lot of commitment. You've got to give up quite a lot of stuff. And I think if you've got a clear reason why you're doing this, that's going to really help you get out of bed, put off going out with your friends and study hard. So yeah, for me, I would be asking you, what is your motivation to pass? Yeah, why are you taking the exam? Yeah, what's it all about? If you haven't had that conversation, have a look, go on to ACCA Student Accountant, put my name in there. There's various motivational articles on there that you can have a look at, and have a look and read a little bit more. But that is really important. Also, people who do well tend to have a full and balanced life. And to have a full and balanced life, that means time out with your friends, commitment to work and to study and to relaxation and family and friends. You have to be organized. If you're not organized, things just become a mess. Yep. So really important. Do you have a timetable? My students are now focused on the first Tuesday in September, and are working back to today, and they know what they're doing from today to then. Do you, is what I might ask. How organized are you? Post-it notes, colors, mind maps help with the study, but similarly, a good structure of how you live your life and how it's prioritized is also really useful. Why it's useful is if you're organized and if you have a structure, you develop a routine. And without going into too much detail, we have a limited amount of willpower. Okay. And when it's used up, we can't use it anymore. There's no more fuel in the tank. Therefore, to make a study with willpower is maybe not very effective. And if we develop a habit, habits become routine. We get up, we brush our teeth. We get up, or it's 5 o'clock, we study. Or we go to work an hour and a half early and we do an hour and a half work. That's how we do it. Yep. A routine is a really powerful way to create a habit. A habit enables you to study without needing any motivation to do so. You just do it. Yep. So really important, I think, to be organized. It helps establish habits. It can take up to a couple of weeks to establish a habit, but yeah, that's what we need to do. We also need to have a work environment that says to our brain, study time, and when we're somewhere else, no study time. Again, it's a psychological little kind of tick to your brain that it's time to study. Yep. Another article you can look at how to plan that route would be also on the ACCA Student Accountant app. Download it if you haven't already done so, and yeah, have a look at it. So we're talking about September 2023 or December 2023. I've had a question, does it make it easier? Well, does it make it easier? To be honest, having been involved with many revisions of syllabuses, changes of papers, mergers of papers, I know the ACCA spend a lot of time and effort to help make that transition a smooth one. And they give you lots of information, which if you utilize and read carefully, will be very useful for you passing the exam. So personally, there's lots of pre-seen material. There's going to be more articles. I'm writing one at the moment and other things coming out, which will enable you to deal with the September exam very well. You've got 2 full pre-seen materials, which are there to represent the September exam. You need to go through that very carefully. So I had a question was about, well, another question I had actually was, should I wait until results before start studying again? It's up to you. Depends how chilled you are. I think if you want to take your exam in September, I think you have to look at it this way. Yep. Would you like 6.5 weeks to prepare, or would you like 12 weeks to prepare? I think you should have 12 weeks to prepare, and that means starting it now. But then people might say, oof, but what if I don't pass in my results? Well, I don't know about other courses, but people who are signed up for my course are allowed a completely free postponement, so they can retake their exam if they want to. If they want to retake it with SBL, they can do that as well, because they will have been studying for 6 weeks before the results come out. And also, they get a full pass assurance. So just because they postpone it to maybe December, so that's a no-brainer when it's put like that. So you should be doing it. Also, if you leave it 6.5 weeks, the habits that you formed and you created that took you through the June exam are likely to have been lost and will require building again. And yeah, you've got 6.5 weeks to build those habits. That is going to be difficult. Yeah, that's going to be difficult. So I would suggest definitely don't wait. Just to repeat those things, don't wait to your results, because you'll have lost your habit and you'll have 12 weeks as opposed to 6.5. Okay. What else? Well, I also think you should take an ACCA approved approach. What do I mean by that? Well, whichever way you're studying, what resources should you use? You may be aware the ACCA are going to put some online resource for free that you can access. Yep. However, I'll say in a moment, the exam is not a technical exam, it's an applied exam. And if you just learn those resources, you're unlikely to pass. Yeah, my analogy I use for SBL, it's a little bit like learning to drive. Yep. So what my students get is me giving them a video on some information which they will hopefully, and a mind map, and maybe they recreate their own mind map. They recreate their own notes with a pencil, not typing it because it goes into your brain better. What they then do is do a question, and then I give a full video debrief of that question. Maybe they send me a homework question, which I get ACCA SBL markers to mark and feedback, lots of comments to them. So they don't just get a tick. So what I'm saying to you is, if you just learn the notes, that's only a part. The technical knowledge needed is there to act as a catalyst to help structure and frame your answers, but it's not there to learn. Yep. You need to have a look at past questions. If you're not getting any help, you need to find some study buddies who are equally motivated as you and maybe mark each other's questions. Yeah, that's what you need to do, and get on the CBE platform. Yep. But the resource is fine, and it's the ACCA are providing that, and it's free. So take a look at that. I don't think it's out just yet, but its launch is imminent. What you need to remember about SBL is what it's there to do. Yep. And probably the best way I can describe what it's there to do is take the words of the examining team who say it's an integrated exam, means you're connecting information. You're basically using information to behave as you would in the workplace. Yeah. The exam is a practical exam. Yeah. It's an exam that's involving a bit of role play. And as I said to you already, it's how you behave in the workplace. Okay. It has some syllabus things that you need to look at, and I've got those there on the screen, and you can find those off the ACCA website. You also have to demonstrate some professional skills marks. Again, lots of information. I'm not going to focus too much on that, but you need to make sure that the professional skills marks you are required to use are used as a lens through which you interpret the tasks given. Okay, so that is, if you take an SBL before, how it was. That is how it is in the September revised exam. Okay, so these are the areas which you need to familiarize yourself with, but it's not a technical exam, it's a practical exam. Let me now talk to you about the format and style. I've just had a question from Ibrahim, who's arrived a little late. He can't hear anything. I'm very sorry, Ibrahim. I've checked the sound before we started with everyone else, and they can all hear. All I could suggest is maybe check your sound, log out and log back in again. Okay, so I'll be watching for you coming back in. There is a recording of this as well, but we did a full sound check before we started. So sorry about that, but there will be a recording. If you want to just put some questions in a chat box you might have, I'll answer them. Okay, let's talk about the format and style. Well, the exam was 4 hours. It's now 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's still 100 marks. It's still 80 technical marks. You still need 50 to pass. Yep. What is different? Well, you get a pre-seen material 2 weeks before. Okay, so what's that there for? I'll talk about that in a moment. Also, you will still get quite a lot of stuff on the exam day, but you will, before the exam, get some pre-seen material. The ACCA have updated this because they want SBL to represent real life, and in real life, you're probably not going to get all your information that you have to make judgments on and understand and digest and cross-reference in a 4-hour period. In the workplace, you'll have a little bit more time to review, digest, think again, reflect. So the pre-seen information gives you time to review, digest, and reflect on the industry and on the key issues of the case. Now, again, there's lots of experts online who say they're going to predict all the questions from this pre-seen material. Well, having done quite a lot of work with the education team, I can tell you that is not their intention, and any predictions will be pure guesses. Yep. But I think it is good for you to work the case, to, think about what's going on, think about the dynamics of the industry, try and picture it in real life. All of that is going to be useful, as you would do in the workplace. But on the day of the exam, you are going to get 3 separate tasks. So before there was sometimes 3 tasks, or sometimes 4, sometimes 5. You're only going to get 3. They're going to be answered in separate word processing files. I think that will probably, as it currently is done with the other strategic professional exams. And yeah, the professional skills marks will still be applied, but there will be 4 of each one, rather than before where it was a bit more random. But apart from that, not really much change. Now, I don't know whether you've got any questions on what I've said so far about the pre-C material, but that's what's going to happen. Yeah, 2 weeks before, it is there to represent real life more. It could help you if English is not your first language. For example, they talk about building yachts in one of the pre-scene mock exams. Some people who live in a landlocked place where yachts aren't common might need to familiarize themselves, although you might not be able to relate to that. But, it's a global exam and has to be fair in a global sense. So that's what it's there to do. That's what the pre-scene. So it's not going to give you loads of clues. Yeah. What I am going to do with my students, as soon as that exam comes out, I'm going to spend probably 72 hours writing a mock linked to that pre-scene material. And then I'll get ACCA markers. I'll get students to forward it to me from the CBE platform, and then I'm going to get them to mark ACCA, SBL markers to mark that mock, just so that students will have actually done a mock. I will hypothesize some tasks, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But it's quite a lot to ask, I think, for someone to spend 72 hours or maybe even a little bit longer putting together a mock, tidying it up, publishing it, etc., etc. But that's my intention. That's how I'm going to help my students. I think you should maybe, if you're not getting any help, maybe go through the case with some of your study buddies and just make sure there's nothing you don't understand. Okay. So yeah, as always, you're going to combine technical and professionalism. Regurgitation of theory will not get you anywhere. And the most important thing, if you are taking SBL, having failed it maybe a couple of sessions ago and are coming back to it, the syllabus has no significant changes or updates. The syllabus is the same. So the information you use to help develop frameworks, that help develop arguments and structure answers to your exam is the same. Remember that. So does it make it easier, was a question I had earlier from David. I think it makes it more work-like. I don't think it's easier. I think it maybe takes the sting out of any worries people might have having to read and digest everything in a short period of time. You have longer to understand the dynamic of the case and the industry. Just that might make you feel a bit calmer entering the exam. So maybe that might be helpful for some. But is that easier? I think it's more helpful and more work-like. I think it's important to remind you, if you're coming to Strategic Business Leader having not studied it before, that it is a very, very different exam to other ACCA exams. Extremely different. And as a result, you need to have a different approach. Yep, the rationale is completely different. On other exams, you learn technical information, and then you get technical questions that ask you, for technical answers. And those technical answers, in theory, could be almost marked by a machine. 1 and 1 equals 2. Whereas for SBL, it's much more strategic. It's much more applied. Leaders if they could be replaced by robots, would be. And you have to think laterally. You have to think about the context of the workplace. You have to be professional. Yeah. So yeah, it's different. And what you need to do is you need to gain confidence. You need to gain confidence in applying the knowledge. Okay, so to do that is a different approach to learning. If you go and learn a load of technical theories, which you may have picked up from the syllabus, you will not pass this exam because you will have just be able to regurgitate technical theories. You're adding no value there. You're just regurgitating a theory. SBL requires you to add value, to apply, to link. And to do that, you need to practice doing questions. You need to get feedback on how you're doing, where you're doing well, where you need to improve. That's what's really important. And then my students who do SBL come out of the exam, go into the exam really confident. They don't worry about it. They say they know they passed when they came out because they had been groomed and prepared to be confident in scenario situations and be able to think laterally, be able to think on their feet, be able to apply things. And that's what I want all of you to do. So just take some kind of advice from my ex-students. That's how they get confidence, because they've been through scenarios, they've reflected, they've reworked, they've got better. Got a question here. Will we be able to print the material, and is it different for different students, or is it globally the same case? Oh, that's a deep question. The pre-seen material is globally going to be the same. Everyone will have it issued 2 weeks before. I can't see how they could stop you printing it, to be honest. If it's available on a screen, it's printable. So yes, you'll be able to print it. However, you won't be able to take it into the exam. On the day of the exam, you will be given a fresh copy of the pre-seen material. Yeah. But don't forget, I think you maybe didn't hear me right at the beginning. It's not as a crib sheet of what the questions are going to be. Yeah. But it is going to hopefully give you some context about the case and about the industry, which will make you feel calmer when you are presented with the exam paper with some extra exhibits. Also, in the previous exam, there was many exhibits. Yeah, there was. I don't think the ACCA ever set a limit on those exhibits. You're going to get probably only, I think they said a maximum of kind of three or four for each question. Yeah. So yeah, there's not as much information. It's a 3-hour exam, and because there's not as much information, because you're given quite a bit of information in the pre-seen material, which helps give you confidence about what's going on. So hopefully that helps. No problem. Okay. Anything else on that pre-seen material I can help you with? Okay. So how do you, if you are studying for September, which I would say you've got plenty of time to study for September, prevent failure in an exam? Well, get some approved material. Don't go listening to people on Facebook. The ACCA give lots of free approved material. Personally, I many moons ago did accountancy exams. I struggled and scrimped and saved and traveled halfway across Britain to go to good courses to help me, because I needed the help. There's no way I could do it on my own. So yeah, I think if you can do an approved course of study, do one. It makes life so much easier. Be organized, be structured, have a timetable. It's about application, not about regurgitation of technical knowledge. So don't try and learn everything. I would try to keep the knowledge. So for example, on something like corporate governance, you need to understand the key things of, say, agency theory, but you don't need to know the detail of the codes, but you need to know what are they designed to do? What are they designed to prevent? So keep it at a top level, understand it rather than learn it. A lot of people can regurgitate all the codes, but then I ask them a probing question about it. They obviously don't understand it, but they've learnt it like a parrot, but don't understand it. So SBL is about understanding. Yep. Try to practice questions, and then having got feedback to questions. So I'll start with homework, then move it on to mocks do those mocks on the CBE platform, get familiarity with that platform, try to get it marked by someone who knows what they're talking about. Really important. Okay, I'll just get something popping up on my screen here. Are you getting that? I apologize if you are. You going to pop up, or is that just local for me? I'll move it off. Okay. Any questions on that? No? Fine, that's great. All right then. Well, just before I wrap up, thanks for what you've asked, and hopefully it's been useful. September exam is, I think there's about 6 weeks till my students start doing full-blown mocks on the CBE platform. Therefore, they're going to use the next 6 weeks acquiring knowledge, applying knowledge, so that by the time we do the first mock, they're really going to be good. They're going to hit the ground running. They're going to spend August polishing and focusing that knowledge. They're going to pass the exam easily. So you need to try to mirror what they are doing. Okay, that's what I'd like you to do. What about what courses do I? Well, I offer various courses. I do have a little slide on that. People often ask me that. Let me just see if I can log this, put this on the screen. A platinum course, what's that? Platinum course is really probably what 90% of my students do. So when you're looking at courses, maybe benchmark other courses against this one. I create about 90 professionally recorded videos, try to keep them no longer than half an hour, but they show on SBL that an answer on SBL could go that way, but it could go that way. And it could go each of those ways if you did this or if you did that. Yeah, so it explains it rather than a right or wrong answer, which there are multiple ways in which you can answer SBL exam questions. I'll provide a Kaplan kit. I'll give marked homeworks with feedback, not just like you got 10, lots of feedback on where you did well. The mocks will be done on the CBE platform to time, so you'll have to sign on through your ACCA account. They'll be marked by the markers who will mark your real exam, so you'll get proper feedback and not just get a mark, you'll get lots of comments. The big thing though is the course is flexible, so people can go through my videos, maybe make some notes on it and go through it again. They don't get something, they send me a WhatsApp. I send them a regular WhatsApp reminding them on key concepts they need to know. And we do that right up until the day of the exam. Yeah, so I'm like a tutor in your pocket to be asked questions whenever you want. Yep. So that's kind of what the course is. So if you're in a classroom course and we do it every other Saturday, you can ask me every other Saturday. Wherever you are in the world, just get me on WhatsApp and I will answer you straight away. Yeah, so that's a pretty useful resource that technology provides us with. Also, if you do all the mocks in the exam, very difficult to fail this paper. So I'm so confident you'll pass. You can do everything again for free if you have a bad day. But to be honest, hopefully you won't have a bad day because you'll have your day organized and planned properly and you'll pass the exam and we won't need to play that card. But yeah, there's quite a lot there giving it all again for free, but it's, you know, sometimes people have a technology problem. They're doing a remote exam and they get blown out halfway through. So yeah, that really useful for those kinds of students. So yeah, there's other things. If you look on my website, someone asked me about, sorry, I did that too quickly, but just if it seems a little different, why do people do a Revision Plus course? Well, some people do a Revision Plus course because they're on an apprenticeship and the terms of the apprenticeship mean they have to do something with a particular training provider, but that training provider might not get ACCA markers to mark the mocks, might not do the mocks on the CBE platform. Maybe they're resitting it, having studied it elsewhere. They're the kind of people that do a Revision Plus. Most people will do the Platinum. Some people want to have Zoom conversations with me as well as WhatsApp. So everyone on a Platinum course gets WhatsApp. But if you just need a bit of reassurance on Zoom for a few little Zoom sessions, then a Platinum Plus buys you that privilege. But everything else on a Platinum Plus is the same, all the same videos, all the same WhatsApp support, all the mocks, all the homework as the platinum. So it's Zoom you're getting there. A mock day, again, some people are on a course elsewhere and they want to do a mock day. I'm not sure about a mock day this year because there's obviously a limit. I've got to write this in 2 weeks before the exam and to mark it and everything else. I might, well, yeah, let's see about the mock day. But I do offer a mock day. I haven't decided whether I will continue to offer one. I want my students to pass, and where pretty much they all pass is on a platinum course. People monitor my pass rates because it's a platinum approved provider, and I want them to say, oh, they're high pass rates. The likelihood of passing if you just do a mock are not as high, or if you just do a revision plus, they're not as high as if you do a platinum, from my experience. So that's the difference. So that's, a little overview of what's going on. We are in mid-June. I think it's important if you're thinking about a course. Some people say, oh, I can't really afford a course. I understand, that's fine. I couldn't afford a course. I saw it as a cost versus investment. I saw it as passing my exams as quickly as possible because I knew when I passed my exams, I could triple, even quadruple my salary within 4 years. And a few £100 on a course was peanuts compared to quadruple of my salary. So yeah, think about that if no one's explained that to you. Whatever you're studying, if you're just here to pick up some revision tips, think of investment of time, investment of money for the reward you're going to get from being a qualified accountant. Yeah. So if you were arriving late, someone's just said here, if you were to take my mock, sorry, there's just one mock, and I'm not 100% sure at this stage in the game whether we have the capacity just to do a mock. Just, keep an eye on that. I think on my platinum, see, what I like is students being fully prepared and really going to pass. And if you do my full course developing all the knowledge, you do the homeworks and get feedback, and with that feedback, you then do a first mock. And then you start getting stuck into revision and you do all the revision homeworks, and then you do a revision mock, and then you get all the feedback on the revision mock, and then you digest all of that, and then you do a final mock, and then you get all of the feedback and what you're doing well and what you're not doing so well and what you need to improve on. It's very hard to fail. Yeah. But if you're only going to get one bite of that cherry on one mock, your preparation is not going to be as good. So on a mock day, it's £130 or something. For me, I think you'll see it's double or triple with some other providers. It's one mock, like it is on all mock days from the major education companies. So you'll get one mock, but it will be marked by ACCA SBL markers. It won't just be you got 30 or you got 51. It will have massive amounts of comments on what you're doing well, what you need to improve upon, where your presentation is good and where your presentation is bad. So hopefully that answers your question. And that mock, the final mock, will be based on the pre-seen material. Yep, so that will take place, 10 days before the real exam, something like that. So you've got my contact details just in case. They are there. LinkedIn is a good place to follow me on. Just click the bell and anything I post, you will get notified of. If you're just my friend or you follow me on LinkedIn, sometimes, well, if you follow me, you should get all my posts. If you're just my friend, you definitely won't. There's weird algorithms going on in LinkedIn. A newsletter, again, will make you aware of the most important things. So I hope that helps. My main wish for you is if you're doing your exam in September, don't procrastinate and keep thinking, oh, should I? Get on with it, nail it, and get qualified as soon as you can. Thanks for listening. If you were late, I will post a recording of this on my YouTube channel, ACCA Sean Purcell SBL, and WhatsApp me if you've got any questions or if you'd like to talk further about doing tuition. Thanks very much. Hopefully it was useful.